Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to save your hardcore character. I'm going over some tips on some fundamental things about Classic WoW that will save your hardcore characters' lives. You know, despite the fact that a lot of hardcore players are getting a lot better, they know about target dummies, swiftness potions, slumbers, and sticky glue, lots of little niche things. A lot of players are missing the fundamentals on how they can control their character, how they can navigate difficult situations. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I think about 90% of hardcore deaths could be prevented if you follow the steps in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it and let's talk about the most important thing first. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about how to run away from mobs. Let's say we get a couple brutes on us here and I want to run away now. Now, the most common thing you're going to see people do is they just turn their character away and they just run. And you can see these mobs are beating on me. And I'm taking a ton of damage. And now I'm dazed, and it's a bad situation. Right now, I made it out, but if I had gotten dazed sooner, if I gotten unluckier and dazed more than once, I just took a ton of damage. That was a really bad situation. So what can we do to essentially take less damage and run away better? So the way we're going to do that is how we control our character, how we turn our character. We're going to make sure we are not facing directly, putting our back to the mobs. Essentially, we're going to make sure we're facing the mobs as we run away. So let's say we get a couple of these mobs on us. Here they come. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start strafing away, and we're going to turn our camera, and you can even jump. Now this is a hard one because they are right on top of me. But you can see, look at my health this time. You might say, well, why do I have so much more health? Well, number one, I didn't get dazed. Number two, I probably dodged several attacks, potentially parried, because look, my character has 18% dodge, and I also have not 10% parry. So that's almost 30% chance to avoid attacks. So you're just going to be taking significantly less damage. So how to do what I just described? You need to have your strafe keys, get comfortable with them, and you're going to strafe one way, strafe the other. Strafe one way, strafe the other way. Strafe one way, strafe the other way. As you get more used to it, you're going to jump. And that's how you do it. There's a few different strategies you can use as well, but the most important thing is to not show your back to the enemy. Because you don't get dazed that way, and also that way you keep dodging and parrying. If you just strafe in a straight direction, you're going to see this is still considered behind me. Well, I did get a parry, but if you get the angle right, you can, see I got dazed this time. That's why you need to alternate between strafing different directions. As you get better at it, you'll get better control of like going in a straight line. Like let's say I want to go between the root and the log, right? So I'm going to try and strafe without zigzagging too much, right? So I'm going to strafe like this, back and forth. And you're going to see we ended up between the root and the log, right? When you first start, you're probably going to be zigzagging around and going off in random directions. And you just want to make sure you're cognizant of your surroundings. You're looking around as you're doing this. If you get really good at it, you can start strafing while clicking around your camera, but that's actually really hard to do. But this is the best thing you can do to keep your characters from dying, is just run away efficiently, run away correctly. Now, as you're watching here, you might notice these mobs are evading. It takes a while for them to evade, but they're evading every single time at a pretty consistent location. And that's because I'm not hitting the mobs. A very common mistake you're also going to see is people don't understand the rules of evading a mob. Let's say I have right click turned on and I auto attack this mob. I am never evading this mob. It's never going to happen, right? Even if I was turning and running like this, if I turn my camera and accidentally hit the mob, I am never going to evade this mob if I keep hitting it. And that's because mobs will not evade so long as you keep engaging them in combat. As long as you hit them or even casting spells on them that you might not realize, they all extend the amount of time you're in combat. So for example, you might think this mob is about to evade. Well, I'll gouge it again. It's going to keep chasing me. Now, this information I'm giving you is both a gift and a curse, right? You can kite things to the end of the earth in Classic. You just keep tagging them. right? You don't even have to hit them with damage, just any ability, and you can kite them. You can kite things to guards, whatever you want to do. However, if you're actually trying to escape, if you just keep gouging, you're not going to make it, right? You're going to keep doing damage to the mob. You're going to keep it in combat. So instead, what you want to do is make sure you cancel your auto attack, make sure you're not hitting, make sure you're doing the strafing like I recommended, and you're going to make sure you're not re-engaging in combat. The biggest culprits that are going to get you killed there are Thunderclap, Demoralizing Shout. You might cast those abilities while running away, thinking they're going to reduce the damage you're going to take, when in reality, it just is going to re-aggro the mobs, keep them from evading. Same thing with Concussive Shot from a Hunter. Same thing with Piercing Howl from a Warrior. Cool. All right. That's probably the biggest thing I see classic players messing up. And it's important that you learn how to do this, because when you're in a tense situation, you want to make sure you can still strafe and you don't get dazed and die. All right. Next tip, I would say that is a really easy one. Well, that was a little more complicated. We'll do a nice, easy one. Keybind your potion. Actually use your potion. You can see here I have two different potions keybound. I have a big one and a small one. That way I save the big one for more emergencies, and they're on keybinds that I'm comfortable hitting. If I'm in a bad situation, I'm going to hit that potion. I don't even have to think about it. And that's one thing I would really recommend all hardcore players do. Always put potion, probably even get two keybinds, right? For different ranks of potions, but always keybind a potion. Always you practice using the keybind, get used to it at lower levels. Don't go through your bag clicking your potion, get used to using the keybind. And that is going to not only reduce the amount of deaths that you have where you don't use potion, it's also just going to allow you to potion faster if something sudden happens. You don't have to worry about choking under pressure or looking through your bag for a potion. So always keybind your potion. Now, what I mentioned about the potion, obviously keybinding everything would be great. But I would also recommend, looking into your character's niche abilities and learning how to use them. And this is going to save your life in a lot of situations. There's a lot of niche abilities that are very strong that a lot of players just are never going to cast. Rogues don't have that many niche abilities. I would say Distract is, not really niche, but learning how to use Distract, right? A lot of people don't realize Distract can be used without being in stealth. A lot of people don't realize that you can use Distract in the middle of combat while fighting an enemy. If a patrol is running into your group, you can Distract. Little things like that can actually really go a long way. Examples I can give would be something like a Hunter learning about the Disengage ability. A lot of times as a hunter, you might find yourself in a bad situation where you have threat of the mob. You might not have Feign Death up. You can use the Disengage ability. In Classic, it reduces your threat. It might cause your pet to now have more threat than you. You can run away. Another example, stuff like Hibernate from a Druid. Stuff like on a Paladin, being able to fear undeads, or shackle undead from a priest. These are all abilities that you should remember that you have, put on a keybind that you're not going to need to use that often, but overuse these abilities. I would heavily recommend using them when you do not need to, just to remember they're there, just to practice using the ability, just to know what it's like, how often shackle might break. If you go around playing priest and you shackle undead like every opportunity that you can, yes, you don't need to, and you'll be fine without it in a lot of cases. But when you're in a bad situation, you're going to remember, hey, I know how to shackle undead. I have shackle undead. Let me press that. Split, it's just going to get you thinking about it. So that's what I would recommend. Use your niche abilities even when you don't need to. It's going to get you in a good habit. And same thing with the potion, right? Just keep on your potion, get used to using the potion. Just be more comfortable doing that. And I would also recommend challenging yourself on your character. Just put yourself, don't try and kill your character, but don't play so scared that you're never willing to try anything. Formulate a plan. If I'm going to run into these two mobs, okay, I've got sprint up to run away. I should be okay. Or I got Vanish. Obviously, Rogue with Vanish is kind of a different story. But if you have an exit route prepared, there's no need to be worried about, something going horribly wrong, right? Actually push yourself on your character Actually try and do things that are difficult. That way, when you find yourself in a difficult situation, it's not the first time you've ever been in a bad situation. So I would recommend, pushing your limits a little bit. Try and do things that are challenging, but always have a plan. When I pull up to a situation that looks challenging, like, okay, I'm looking at 3 mobs here. I want to try and take down all 3. Well, okay, let's not just go straight in there. First of all, what's my escape route? Okay, I'm going to run this direction if I get in trouble. What do I have up? I've got evasion. What items should I get ready to use? Is there anything I need to reapply? Poisons. That when you're about to do something difficult, just kind of reassess what's going on. Okay, I want to take these 3 mobs on. Maybe I should clear out some mobs to the side to make it safer, etc. So challenging yourself and preparing for the challenge properly is a big deal. Also, challenging yourself is going to help you keep engaged. Being bored is often something that is going to kill your character. Doing things that are hard can help you, stay focused, right? On that topic of escape routes, I'm going to discuss now how to kind of make sure you always have an escape route and an escape plan. And this is something you should especially do in dangerous areas, but it's something I have just learned to do secondhand. Like, for example, right, looking at the screen right now, where are the enemies behind me? I know back left is completely safe, and I know back right there are enemies. So if I'm in a bad situation, I can run straight this way to safety, right? If I'm understanding of my surroundings, if I'm in a bad position here, I'm not going to back up straight into this brute. I'm not going to kite into this camp because I kind of have an idea of where things were a second ago, right? Likewise, let's say I'm right here, right? And I turn my camera this way and I start fighting this mob, right? What's my escape route? Well, it looks like that is clear. I can run through there. I'm definitely not going to turn around and run this way though, because there's an entire camp of enemies there, right? That would not be the correct direction to go. Just kind of keeping in mind your surroundings, where things are, what enemies you have left up, just helps you know where to run, right? Okay. Other things, with that last thing I mentioned, also, always remember that you can just retrace your steps. Unless something has respawned, the safest escape route is actually to retrace your steps, run back the way you came because you cleared out the mobs on the way there. So if you ever are in a situation where you don't know what to do, retrace your steps, go back the way you came. If you run into a completely different area, you're going to find yourself in a really bad position. So those are the big things that I think are really going to make the difference between saving your hardcore character. A, how to run away from a mob without getting dazed. That's number 1. Number 2, how evading mobs work so you don't accidentally re-engage them in combat when you're trying to run away. Number 3, key binding your potion, key binding, these items that might save your life, like slumber sand, getting used to using the potion, getting comfortable with it. Number 4, learning about the niche abilities your character has. That can really go to another dimension. To one degree, it's using the abilities that are lesser used, just try and find usages for them. I mean, if you get really advanced at the game, if you're playing a pet class, there are so many tips and tricks you can use with a pet. Even just pet stay, pet move. If you're in a bad situation, you can send your pet away from you to help create distance, right? As a hunter, you can alternate threat back and forth between your pet by the pet using cower, you using the disengage ability. You can reset threat on your pet by dismissing, auto dismissing by running far enough away that your pet auto dismisses, and then you can whistle it back again. So many little tips and tricks that you can do. And mastering those is going to really help improve your ability to handle tough situations. And then the last couple things, like I mentioned in summary, track your surroundings and retrace your steps if you are in trouble, and always have kind of an escape route or an escape plan when you do something hard. And you'll get actually used to kind of memorizing your surroundings, especially also as you gain more game knowledge about the game. You don't even have to memorize your surroundings. You just are probably going to know where certain enemies are from past experience. So that's pretty much it, guys. Those are my tips to help keep your hardcore characters alive. Let me know if you have any more tips or tricks you think I should mention. And with that, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.